Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of today's Best Stock Picks. It is Monday and a new month, May 3rd, 2021. Today we're going to focus on earnings. We had a massive amount of earnings last week. I'm going to focus on some bullish reactions last week because just that day after earnings isn't the only time that those earnings plays are good to go. As a matter of fact, you should keep an eye on them from one quarter to the next. Generally speaking, we talk about those as position trades, where if you buy those stocks, that bias, for lack of a better way of putting it, when you buy those stocks, that bias should carry through to the next earnings report. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. So stick around. We're going to be right back. Okay, so specifically, as the headline said today, we're going to be talking about buying McDonald's stocks at all-time highs. We're also going to be looking at Starbucks, which also just pulled back from all-time highs. And then we're going to shift over into other stocks that had earnings last week and which of those stocks you should be looking to buy based on where they are, room to go, profit targets, as well as managing our risk. So we're actually going to start right out with taking a look at McDonald's right after we start out with the futures. We're going to take a look and see where we are. Something that was interesting last week was it was exciting to be a stock trader last week because the market itself pretty much did nothing. Russell 2000 bounced a little bit, but the SPY ETF, the S&P 500, kind of just traded sideways for the entire week. Now, there's two things that you can consider off of that. Number one is they traded into 5 melted candles. So if you can picture a candlestick chart, and we'll take a look at it in a second, where if it opens here and goes all the way up here and kind of dances all over the place, you have an open and a close. And the bigger the distance between the open and the close on a candlestick chart, you have either a big red or a big green candlestick. And that's good. We call that energy. But when you have a lot of movement and a smaller bodied candlestick where pretty much it opens and closes, it's somewhat in the same area, that's what we call a melted candle. And a melted candle represents indecision. So we'll take a look at the chart. The SPY actually had 5 days of melted candles last week, which you would think on the surface that nothing to do, right? But not true. We had the FOMC last week, which created some volatility. We had a massive week of earnings, which had some volatility. So it was fun to actually be stock specific and maybe even industry group specific to look at some ideas. So for example, OSTK had earnings last week. We'll take a look at that trade that we participated in on Friday and how you can use that kind of thought process to be looking if the market is doing nothing, which most active stock traders really rely heavily on watching the market and then looking for stocks to trading in sync with the market. It's called a relative strength play, which is just smart. If the market's obvious, trade only stocks in sync with that. If not, then you go to the sectors and industry groups. Last week, the financials were kind of on fire. We're looking for them to certain ones, such as credit card processing stocks, were I'm not going to say overbought, but they certainly took off. We're going to look for them to pause a little bit, but we're going to take a look at banks such as Morgan Stanley. We'll take a look at JP Morgan, Citigroup, and see if they have some room to go too as well. So we're going to head right over to the charts. We're going to start out with the S&P 500, and then we're going to go right into McDonald's stock and Starbucks stock. So let's go right on over. And first, you can see the report of McDonald's last week, and there was 3 really big things that I think this guy's making a good argument for. Average spending. And, it's interesting. If you don't know, I actually have a background where my family owned a deli and a pizzeria on Long Island years ago. And what's interesting is a big article I read about this that makes it exciting to me from an entrepreneurial perspective is they cut their menu down dramatically. And it improved the bottom line. And that's not shocking for anybody who's owned a business. The easier it is to run the business, the more net profits you're going to have. And McDonald's actually did that. So number one, average spending was up. Number two, setting new profit records with the simplicity of that menu. And if you can think CMG, Chipotle, same thing. And cash holdings went up in the context of everything that was just mentioned. So if we take a look at the stock and where the stock can go, McDonald's stock actually, if you remember, we've talked about this quite a bit. When you're looking to buy stock, you see a stock push up and then pull back, push up and then pull back. And those are natural functions of the market. But there's another scenario that I've been teaching you to pay attention to, which is what's known as holding the bid. So if you could imagine buyers pushing a stock up and they let it go, it kind of floats back down a little bit, and then they look for more to buy. But if they really like the stock, they push it up and they hold the bid. They don't allow it to pull back. So it's something that you should look for on the charts. If you use something like Fibonacci retracements and that kind of stuff, you'll know that when a stock pushes up and pulls back, you look for Fibonacci levels to buy again, right? So in this case here, McDonald's, we're going to head right over to the chart again. This McDonald's stock pushed up and went sideways, pushed up and went sideways, which means that they were holding the bid, which means there was continued buying underneath that. And now we're holding the bid again at all-time highs. It's kind of fun to teach these things because this is something you can look at a chart immediately and start to use and be like, wow, it couldn't pull back. So that means that they're still buying there and we can anticipate the stock moving higher off of that. So kind of cool. So we'll take a look at what that means on McDonald's. So you can see here it pushed up and held the bid. It did not pull back. It pushed up and held the bid. It did not pull back. And then it pushed up and held right into earnings. And we're opening kind of flat today. So I'm going to be looking to buy this stock and call out a trade inside of our community today, just above on Friday's high. Now, the other one, Starbucks, that we had coming into today, Starbucks also had earnings, and you can see how we've been working the chart since last year. It's just been on a tear like a lot of other stocks. But what's interesting is we hit new all-time highs, pulled back, earnings came out, and now the stock is traded into what we call a consolidation. You can see where the line in the sand is here. We need to get back above 116 to trigger a new entry. You might get a little bit aggressive and get in on Friday's price action and just get outside of these two-day lines. It really depends on how much price action you want to confirm. If you really look at it from classic technical analysis, it actually filled the gap on the gap down, and really this 115 and change level would be the entry. So that kind of puts it in sync where you're buying where after you fill the gap and you're buying coming out of Friday's inside candlestick. Either way works. A conservative entry would be looking to get long above the 116 level. Two other stocks I want to talk about today, NCLH, which has earnings later in the week. You can see the lines that I drew in the sand. And we're actually going to go across all of the major cruise lines. NCLH, RCL, and CCL. Out of all of them, I'm just going to zoom out here to tell you why I am going to be looking to buy NCLH stock this week. Some of them have, and some of these stocks in this industry have gotten back up to pretty significant levels. And you can see that there is a ton of room to go for where this was just prior to the pandemic. Almost double, actually. So earnings are coming out, scheduled to come out, I believe, on Thursday for NCLH. Yeah, I believe it's Thursday. So I'm looking at, and I have an alert set over 32 for this stock. Some other earnings that are scheduled to come out after the close today. We have FANG, F-A-N-G. And again, we were watching the, F-A-N-G. We were watching the energy stocks last week. We noticed in the middle of the week that they were perking up. So we got good 2 or 3 days worth of trading out of that. Talked about every single day in our game plan last week. Some members took them trades, some didn't. However, now they're pausing and we need for them to break out. CPE pulled back a little bit too far, but one of the stocks I'm going to be watching today is Hess. Hess broke out, pulled back 3 days of 2 days of consolidating, now right around the 74, 75, 50 level. I'm actually looking for Hess to open lower, reverse, and then have a trade back to the upside. And what? Oh, we want to talk about Facebook and NEO as well. Again, we're going to make today's all about earnings. Facebook actually popped really big, paused on Friday. I'm actually expecting Facebook to pause again today. That was a monster move back. I would love to be looking to pick this up somewhere between 316 and 318. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that. If we do, if we have a big red candle today, I'd actually be pretty happy about looking to buy Facebook tomorrow. And NEO is the one we're going to finish up with here. Look, we spotted accumulation in this stock about a week and a half ago. The stock bounced. A lot of members in our community took the trade, both as day trades and as swing trades. Again, for those of you that happen to be day trading NEO stock on Friday, actually, this is what happened right out of the gate. We were actually looking for the stock to pick a bid again Friday. I was actually hoping for it to pull back and then have another rally in the afternoon, but the selling and the overall market got a little bit heavy, so we did not participate in the afternoon. However, Tesla, staying with this area, electric vehicle stocks, also exploded out of the gate. But now you can see it's actually opening down. If you've been a regular viewer of the channel, you know that we've been watching 700 for Tesla to be the big level, and it's literally sitting right there, 699.99. So above 700 is where we're going to be keeping an eye on Tesla today as well. So there's a lot going on today. Manufacturing data today, 9:45, 10 o'clock, that kind of window. But the point I want to make, I was getting all the way back to what I had mentioned at the beginning of the call. Financial stocks, I'm going to keep an eye on today. American Express actually traded into one of my new favorite patterns. If you did not hit the entry that we called out last week, it's actually giving you another chance to get involved today. But the SPY, as we just gave the explanation on holding the bid, the SPY did have 5 melted candlesticks, but it pushed up and paused. So it did not actually pull back, even though there was some selling on Friday, which was a little bit weird. It did not pull back. So again, they're holding the bid in the SPY. Now, here's the thing. If you're struggling right now trading stocks, what you really need to do is you need to work a little bit harder at building your watch list, which means that you need to get in there and say, if I'm trading this stock, then I need to know all of the other same stocks in that industry group, because that's where the easier conviction comes from. That's where I'll just say it as clearly as I can. When there's a lot of money flowing into the same industry group, you see the whole industry group light up from the day, the week, and the month. And because smart money is diving into those stocks and it's obvious from one day to 1 week to the month, those are the ones that you should have your attention. And the challenge that most traders have had over the last 8 weeks is there's been opportunity. It's not as easy as it was, but there's been opportunity. It really comes down to you have to create that game plan and the watch list focused around certain industries. So it could be the electric vehicle stocks, it could be the cannabis stocks, it could be the solar stocks, it could be the financial stocks. It doesn't matter. Whatever matches your resources, experience, your goals. But dig a little deeper. Spend some time at night. Spend some time on the weekend. Build that watch list. You can go anywhere. Go to finviz.com. Go to tradingview.com. There's plenty of stockcharts.com. Get in there. Go to the industry. Go to whatever stock you're trading now. Go deeper. Go into the industry. Go into the industry group. Create a list of at least 5 stocks if possible. Put them all on the same watch list and then pay attention. There's certain days when it's lighting up, and those are the days you should make a little bit more. And then there's other days where everything's red, green, nothing. And you can go stock specific, but those are the days you might pull yourself back a little bit or look for something else to trade. It always helps, and just like a little deeper, advanced stock trading game plan type stuff. Have at least 3 different industry groups and make them non-related. This way, if one's out of play, you can jump into the other one. One of them, if you do your job, if you do a good job of putting that together, you should always have something that's in play. They might not be perfect, but you can always scale back your size and make some cash flow for that day. So that's what we have for today, everybody. We're focused, just to make it clear, we're focused on earnings from last week, looking for follow through. There was also some short sales that happened last week. Twitter, eBay, and Caterpillar got hit a little bit, so we're going to keep an eye on those today as well. Not saying there's a trade yet today, so that's a big thing. We had some new members in the community saying, but you talked about them. And I say, yeah, a trade setup is not the same thing as a trade. You have to have all of the confluence of the right price, profit targets, and all of those kind of things. So you go from everything down to the interesting trades that actually trigger your entry signals. Okay. Just do me a favor if you can. If you enjoy this type of content, I encourage you to click down and actually leave a comment below, because I want to know what's bothering you. I want to know what your challenges are, and I'd like to help. That's really what it comes down to. And also look for an announcement. There's a community tab here on YouTube. We're going to start fielding your questions, where once a week we're going to have a Q&A session. So I'm going to create a post over on the community tab. What's your biggest frustrations and problems? And then we're going to have a nice live session. We're going to cover those as well. So if you could do me a favor, give us a thumbs up if you find this stuff helpful, and definitely subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.